So this step I had been really looking forward to. It was finally time to set in the wall planks, and by doing that finishing the two lower walls of the small Viking house. It was a fairly simple process of just measuring out the length of these planks and sawing them using the replicas of two Viking saws that I have here in my tool collection. The saws work great. They really work, I would say, as fast or as smooth as a regular handsaw from modern times. Um, the idea was to weather seal the wall by using tar and sheep's wool between the planks. One of the main difficulties on the day I was working here was that it was very cold, and tar gets really hard. Not hard, but it gets really sticky or difficult to spread out when it's cold. So I had to keep it next to the fire a lot of the time and keep heating it up so I could apply it with my little homemade brush or whatever. It's just a simple stick with some linen fabric wrapped around. You saw me making it earlier in one of the earlier videos. So to put one plank in place, trim the ends just a tiny bit so they fit into the grooves that I have cut in the beams. Slide the plank in, apply a layer of tar, and then simply put some sheep's wool on top, next plank, and so on. And every so often I would drill a tiny hole into the plank that was already in place and insert a small peg, and do the same in the next plank coming up, so the two planks will fit together and there won't be too much play between the planks. It is a relatively small span. It's around 1 meter and 6 or 7 centimeters between the posts, so it's not like the planks would do a lot of moving this way. But anyway, just for safety measures, once in a while, I would say every 2 or 3 planks, I put in a peg or 2 pegs along the way. And I must say it was fantastic to finally see something really come up and to see something actually being very close to being done here. I finished the other wall. The wall that I was talking about was waiting a bit because I wanted to incorporate the possibility of having a window. So that wall is slightly different. I have some really large, like 50 centimeter wide planks of pine that I've been hauling around for years, and I decided that they would become the other wall. So it was a bit easier to slide bigger planks in, and there's now an opening that will be a window eventually. One thing that I think I didn't think through was the position of the grooves in the posts. I wanted to position the grooves towards the outside so there would be more space for shelving or hanging up things on the inside on the house. And the very first plank I slid into the grooves was with a lot of friction. And I had to hammer it in, and I almost split the material on one of the posts. So one of the grooves almost split away. Therefore, the next planks and all the rest of the planks, I had to trim them down a bit more, so there was a quite loose fit. I would have wanted them to be really hard and friction fit, all of them, but that didn't work out with these pine posts. So there is some play that I had to what do you say, lock down with the small pegs I was mentioning earlier. So yeah, it was a cold day here on the building site, but I really enjoyed it. I love the sound of the saw, that little singing sound it almost makes when the teeth are loosening their grip from the fibers. I really like that, and to work with tar is always pleasant. I really love tar. The smell is amazing to me. I know for some people, tar is a strong smell, but for some people it's not very pleasant. I'm curious to know if you like the smell of tar, because I really enjoy it. And sheep's wool is a fantastic material. I like the smell of natural wool and the feeling of the wool fibers between my fingers. So this combination of pine boards, tar and wool, it was just a fantastic day for me to be working here. So the only thing left now before winter is to cover the walls and the posts and the knee braces. Everything that has not been covered with a nice layer of tar yet will need to get a coating before winter. Of course, the walls will be protected in the future by the roof and the overhanging roof, and the inside of the cabin will be protected But right now, this is going to have to stand here for I suppose, until spring, when I'm able to work at the site again. So I need to coat it. I'm going to have to heat up a lot of tar and coat it nicely, and then we will have to wait for the next step. And if you're curious, the next step will be to hew the beams that is going to hold the walls in place. There's 3 tenons coming up from the posts in the low wall, and there's going to be a beam coming on top that I'm going to hew out of some tree trunks I have lying around. Maybe I can do some of this here if the frost makes the ground really hard. Otherwise, I might have to wait. And the last wall, the back wall of the house, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to do that. I have different plans in my head, so that's also something that is coming up. In the last video, I said that for the talking part of this video, I would talk a bit more about the archaeology and the evidence for Viking houses, and to explain some of the construction methods I've been using and I'm planning to use on this house. And I have this book here. It's a fantastic book. For me, it's the kind of Bible on Nordic building techniques, or Viking time building techniques in the north in Scandinavia. With the help of archaeology, we do know a lot about the Viking houses. Of course, all the Viking houses here in Denmark were made from wood, and no complete house is standing from the Viking age here in Denmark. Most of what we know is based on the position of columns in the ground, because when wooden beams or posts in the ground rot or burn, they leave marks. And that gives us an idea of the houses and the sizes and the entrances and the entranceways, and maybe even the dividing, or how the house is divided on the inside into separate compartments or rooms, so to speak. And there's sites all over Scandinavia, and also in Germany and Holland and from other places where Vikings have settled, where we know so much about the low part of the Viking houses. And of course, the higher up we get in the Viking house, the less we know, because the more things are just gone over time. It's rotted away, disappeared, and mostly only the parts that were in the ground has survived. There is a few places where lower parts of the houses are found, collapsed next to where the walls would have been, and that of course gives us a really good insight on how different walls were built and made up, and in what kind of constructions they actually were. There is several different construction types presented in the archaeology, and I think it's safe to say that most of the Viking houses were probably made from vertical posts put directly in the ground, and then with some sort of planks spaced out, and then with what is called wattle and daub walls, woven branches of hazel probably, or other straight, easy bendable branches, and then covered with cow muck, I think it's called, with cow dung or clay, a mixture of different earthy materials that then will harden up and make a nice wall. And there is a lot of evidence as well on houses that were made with plank walls, but standing up vertically next to each other with a tiny little tenon or external, or with a tiny little groove and a tenon between them, holding them together, and then the top beam holding them in position, and mostly they were just dug into the ground. The idea of houses that had wooden sill beams that had wood on the bottom, like I do, is not highly represented. There is evidence of houses done like this. So most of the houses were with wattle and daub walls. There was vertical staves, as you see today in the medieval or early medieval stave churches in Norway, and in most of the reconstruction of Viking halls around Denmark. And there is also really interesting posts found that has the grooves that indicates plank walls with horizontal planks, like I am doing here. And because I needed to lift my house a bit up from the ground due to the factors of the small stream behind me swelling up and this area being quite muddy at times, I needed, of course, a piece of wood at the bottom. And I've always been intrigued by these posts with the grooves. And the posts show tenons and mortises, grooves for the planks. They even show the hole going through the top that would have secured the post to the beam going horizontally on top of it. And one difference is that the post you see in the book here, that has survived through the ages, has a fork like ending in the top, almost like a mortise with the middle cut out, and I have the opposite here. I have decided to have the tenon going up in the middle of the posts, so that's a slight variation. There is evidence of doors and entryways, and we do have indication on roof constructions. Namely, we do have a whole piece of one of the top beams that locks the wall in place, that has all the holes, the tenons, and that has all the holes, the mortises where the vertical post would have come up, and they do have the notches where the rafters would have come up to meet the roof. So that gives us an idea of how roofs could have been constructed. Other than that, there is a variety of different building techniques, and from the Viking settlement of Hedeby, we do have examples of houses that had 3 different types of wall constructions in one house. Everything from wattle and daub to horizontal planks and vertical planks. So these things is possible, and I'm planning on doing an experiment with different wall types as well here. We have examples of the tools that were made to build the house, and I found actually in the book from Hedeby a club, a wooden club or mallet that is almost exactly like the one I made out of apple wood a while back here for this project that you see me use. I had not seen this before, but that was a funny coincidence, I think, that there was actually a club like this. I thought I only knew of more uniform or strictly shaped clubs. But we don't know a lot about roofs. Everything from the ground up, the further up we come, the less we know, and the more is just guesswork, based on small pieces of wood found, sometimes even out of context, but then interpreted as being part of a construction. And of course there is a big difference on if you're talking a small tool shed or a simple barn, or you're talking a ritual building, or even a fancy hall from one of a king's hall or a chieftain's great longhouse. So there's of course difference in the material, in the ornamentation, in the designs. So the building portrays or follows the riches or the social status of whoever the building belonged to, or whatever trade the building was meant to house. The house I am building is very small, and earlier I explained some of the reasons for this, that this is what I have. But we do have a lot of examples of really low houses, halfly dug into the ground, that would have been very simple, crudely made, maybe for workshops or very simple living accommodation for some of the lowest social class. In Danish they're called grubehus, and I think grubehus, halfly buried or at least low, visually low from the outside, is what I have been playing around with here. This house is not dug into the ground or halfly buried, but it is a low house, and it is a very small house that would resemble maybe some kind of very, very simple woodshed or workshop for a simple craftsman. Yeah, and of course this is not a complete archaeological study that I'm presenting here. And this house is not based on it's not a replica of a certain Viking house, but there is a lot of this knowledge about Viking houses that I'm trying to incorporate here, or at least I want to test some of these theories, not theories, I want to test the construction ways. I want to see how it feels to make this. I want to see how it works together, and I want to play around and learn by doing this. I am trying to build a small Viking house that is basing its specific and individual parts somewhat on what we know from archaeology, and this book is a very good place to start. It's in Danish, written by a Danish author, and I don't know actually if this is available in English. If it is, I will figure it out and put a link in the description below. So again, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for joining me here, both for a little more rainy day here and yesterday when it was quite cold, for a nice day here at the construction site. I hope you had a good time watching this video. I certainly had a good time here building, and I can't wait to continue. And like I said, some of this might be in the spring, depending on how cold and frosty the winter gets, I might be able to work here. Else I do have some month here where this becomes so muddy that it's not pleasant to be here. At this point, I don't know when we will be back at the building site. The weather will dictate that. But of course, I have other things planned and plenty of ideas to make interesting videos for you guys. Let me know what you think, and as usual, feel free to write your thoughts, ask questions, or comment something you've seen in the video here in the section below, and I will get back to you. I do really enjoy having this community feeling when we're sharing thoughts, and we can write each other in the section below here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. All this, you know it already. I'm going to get back inside. It's threatening with a storm here. The wind is picking up and the clouds are looking mad, and I think this is going to be quite wet the next few days here. So I will see you soon, and again, thanks for watching. Stay safe.